Stress is no longer an occasional experience. It's a constant background noise. The inbox is full. The bills are piling up. You scroll for peace, but only find chaos. Your body is tense. Your mind races. You lie awake, exhausted by your own thoughts. We live in an age of abundance, yet we suffer more than ever. Not from hunger or war, but from our own minds. We react to everything. A traffic jam ruins the morning. A text message ruins the evening. We live at the mercy of events. This wasn't always the case. 2,000 years ago, men like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus walked through collapsing empires and personal tragedies with a level of inner peace we rarely see today. They didn't have silence around them. They had silence within. Stoicism wasn't just a philosophy, it was a weapon against panic. A system designed to bring order to the mind when the world falls apart. And that's what you need right now. Not another distraction, not a temporary escape, but something unshakable. A mindset that works even when life doesn't. In a world drowning in noise, Stoicism teaches you how to stop reacting and start choosing. The Stoics understood something we've lost in modern life. Your peace is not determined by events, only by how you interpret them. You are not stressed because of your job. You are stressed because of your thoughts about your job. You're not angry because someone disrespected you. You're angry because you expected respect. Epictetus said it clearly. It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. That idea changes everything. It means no one can control your emotions unless you let them. It means you can walk through disaster with dignity. It means you can lose everything and still keep your mind intact. But most people never take control of their interpretations. They're slaves to every little trigger, every bad driver, every social media post. They let strangers live rent-free in their heads. The Stoics didn't do that. They trained their minds like warriors train their bodies. They questioned every emotion. They challenged every reaction. They made a habit of stepping back, not lashing out. They replaced outrage with understanding, fear with reason, chaos with clarity. They understood that life is unpredictable, but the mind doesn't have to be. That's the first step. You must reclaim your inner world, not by controlling life, but by controlling your response to it. Every day, you wake up and face a storm of problems, some big, some small. The meeting that might go wrong. The person who might disappoint you. The world that might collapse just a little more than it did yesterday. You carry the weight of all of it. Trying to solve what's outside your control. Trying to hold together a world that was never yours to hold, and that's why you suffer. The Stoics taught one idea that cuts through this madness like a blade. Focus only on what is within your control. Ignore everything else. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest disciplines in the world, because your mind wants to control everything. It wants to predict, to prepare, to protect. It wants certainty. But the truth is, most of life isn't yours to command. You can't control the economy. You can't control the weather. You can't control your past or other people's opinions or the timing of tragedy. You can't even control what thoughts enter your mind, but you can control what you do with them. You can decide what you focus on, what you believe, how you respond, what you say, and what kind of person you choose to be. That's where your power is, and the Stoics knew it. They divided the world into two parts. The external world, what happens, and the internal world, how you respond. If it's external, they let it go. If it's internal, they took full responsibility. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's not just a nice quote to read when you're calm. It's a survival strategy when you're under pressure, when the world feels like it's falling apart, when you're misunderstood, mistreated, or just overwhelmed by the weight of it all. You don't have to fix the world. You don't have to fix people. You don't have to predict what will happen next. You just have to come back to this question. What is mine to control right now? Can you control how someone speaks to you? No. Can you control how you respond? Yes. Can you control if you get sick? Not always. Can you control your habits, your mindset, your resilience? Absolutely. When you focus only on what is yours, something incredible happens. Stress loses its grip. Anxiety starts to fade. You become lighter, freer. But this isn't passive. It's not giving up or ignoring problems. It's strategic surrender. It's letting go of the illusion of control, so you can focus your energy where it actually makes a difference. When someone insults you, the average mind reacts. The Stoic mind pauses. It doesn't need revenge. It doesn't need validation. It knows, this is not mine. When a plan falls apart, most people panic. The Stoic adapts. He accepts what happened, then immediately asks, okay, what now? This mindset makes you unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because your emotions stop being tied to things outside your power. No more emotional roller coasters. No more reacting to every little shift in the world. Just clarity. Just action. You stop wasting energy on things that don't move you forward. And suddenly, you have the strength to face anything that comes your way. Seneca said, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not." And in that line is a secret most people never realize. Peace doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from focusing only on what you can actually influence. You can't stop the chaos, but you can stop letting it control you. You can't choose your circumstances, but you can always choose your attitude. You can't silence the world, but you can master your mind. Every time you try to control what isn't yours, you suffer. Every time you come back to what is, your character, your effort, your choices, you find strength. That's the Stoic path. Not perfect, not easy, but powerful. And the more you practice it, the less life can shake you. Not because you escaped stress, but because you outgrew it. We spend most of our lives running from discomfort. We avoid hard conversations. We numb ourselves with entertainment. We chase comfort like it's the purpose of life. But what if that's exactly why we suffer? The Stoics believed the opposite. That strength is found in discomfort. That peace is earned through friction. And that the avoidance of pain is the birth of weakness. Seneca said, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition I feared?'" He was a powerful man, a Roman senator with wealth and status, and yet he practiced sleeping on the floor, eating like the poor, wearing worn-out clothes. Why? Because voluntary discomfort builds unshakable confidence. It teaches you that you can endure far more than you think. It removes fear from the equation. Most people aren't afraid of events. They're afraid of the discomfort those events might bring. Losing a job, being alone, looking foolish, feeling rejected. But if you've already experienced discomfort by choice, then what's left to fear? If you've fasted for 24 hours, you stop being terrified of hunger. If you've slept without a bed, you stop panicking about luxury. If you've gone without social approval, you stop needing it. Voluntary hardship isn't punishment. It's liberation. It detaches you from the things that control everyone else. Comfort, approval, pleasure, security. And once you're free from those chains, you move through life differently. You're not desperate for outcomes. You're not broken by rejection. You stop needing the world to be soft because you've become strong. That's why the Stoics embraced challenges. They saw struggle not as a threat, but as training. Training for the real storms of life, the ones you don't get to choose. When death knocks, when betrayal strikes, when everything falls apart, the man who has chosen discomfort is ready. He doesn't break, he bends, he endures, and not only that, he acts. Because while others are paralyzed by fear, he's already faced it, and he learned something most people never will. Pain is not the enemy. Fear is not the enemy. Avoidance is. You grow by doing what is difficult. You grow by stepping into fire and discovering that it didn't destroy you. It forged you. This is why the Stoic doesn't seek luxury. He doesn't hide in comfort. He trains daily in small ways. Cold showers, fasting, waking early, silence, stillness, reflection. Not because it looks impressive, but because it builds a kind of muscle the world can't see, the muscle of the soul. And when that muscle is strong, you stop fearing the unknown. You stop needing life to go your way. You stop shrinking from challenge because you already know the truth. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your teacher, and on the other side of it is freedom. What if everything went wrong tomorrow? What if you lost your job, your health, your relationships, your safety, your comfort? Most people don't want to think about that. They run from those thoughts. They call them negative, dark, unnecessary. But the Stoics had a word for this practice: premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, imagining the worst before it happens. Not to scare yourself, but to prepare yourself. They believed that by visualizing every possible hardship in advance, you rob it of its power. You take fear and turn it into readiness. You replace surprise with clarity. Marcus Aurelius would begin his day with this simple exercise. He would remind himself, "You will meet people today who are rude, arrogant, jealous, dishonest, and selfish." Not because he wanted to judge them, but because he refused to be caught off guard. Most people live in denial. They assume everything will go according to plan. And when it doesn't, they fall apart. They panic. They blame. They collapse. But the Stoic expects life to be difficult, not as a pessimist, but as a realist. He asks himself, what if I fail? What if I'm betrayed? What if I lose it all? And then he answers calmly, then I will endure. Then I will adapt. Then I will rebuild. That's the power of premeditating misfortune. You experience it in your mind before it happens in reality, and that makes you unbreakable when it finally arrives. Because now you're not reacting, you're responding. You've already walked through the fire in your thoughts. So when life lights the match, you don't flinch. This isn't about fear. It's about resilience. It's about knowing the enemy before it shows up at your door. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." You don't have to live in dread, but you do have to look reality in the face. Bad days will come. People will disappoint you. Things will go wrong. You will suffer loss. The only question is, will you be ready? Premeditatio malorum turns fear into focus. It turns anxiety into action. It reminds you, you've already thought this through. You've already prepared. So now you're not afraid of loss because you've made peace with it. You're not afraid of death because you've stared it in the eye. You're not afraid of hardship because you've already built the strength to face it. And in that mental rehearsal, you become something rare in this world, a person who cannot be shaken by fate. There's one final piece to Stoic freedom. It's not just about enduring life. It's about embracing it, not reluctantly, not bitterly, but with open arms. The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of fate. Not acceptance, not tolerance. Love. Imagine that. Not merely surviving the storms of life, but learning to love the rain. This is the highest discipline, to say yes to everything. The joy, the heartbreak, the loss, the failure, the chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Not just the good things, everything." That's what amor fati is. It's the fire that consumes your misfortune and turns it into fuel. It's the mindset that says, this pain will shape me. This setback will teach me. This moment, however dark, belongs to me. Most people resist life. They argue with what is. They wish it were different. They curse their fate. But resistance is weakness in disguise. It changes nothing. It solves nothing. It only makes you smaller. The Stoic learns to flow with fate, to find meaning in the cracks, to trust that even suffering has a purpose, not because it feels good, but because it is real. And real things deserve your attention, not your avoidance. When you love your fate, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? What can I do with this? How can I grow through this? That's where power is born. In the moment you choose to work with life instead of against it, because nothing is truly against you, unless you label it that way. Pain becomes your teacher. Delay becomes your training. Loss becomes your awakening. Amor fati is not about giving up. It's about showing up. It's not passive. It's the most active force you can carry. The strength to walk into the fire and say, this too I love. The breakups, the failures, the sleepless nights, the disappointments. You don't need to enjoy them. But you can choose to love the person they shape you into. That's amor fati. A brutal kind of beauty. A hard-earned kind of peace. And once you carry it, you no longer fear what the day might bring. Because you've already decided, whatever comes, you will meet it with courage. You will meet it with discipline. You will meet it with love. Not because life is perfect, but because you are finally ready to live it. All of it. Most people believe stress comes from chaos, from deadlines, from bills, from people, from pressure. But the Stoics understood something deeper. Stress is not what happens to you. It's how you respond. It's how you think. It's what you expect from life. And what you tell yourself when life doesn't deliver. And that's why Stoicism isn't just ancient wisdom. It's a weapon. One you carry in your mind. A shield against panic. A sword against confusion. A compass that points you toward calm, even when the world burns. Every day the Stoic wakes up with a purpose. To control the one thing no one can take from him, his mind. He doesn't chase comfort. He doesn't wait for peace to arrive. He builds it, piece by piece, thought by thought, choice by choice. He practices the art of stillness. He prepares for hardship before it strikes. He welcomes discomfort like a training ground for the soul. He reminds himself of death, not to fear it, but to live with urgency and meaning. He doesn't try to bend the world to his will. He bends himself to meet the world. And in that bending, he becomes unbreakable. When others lose control, he holds the line. When others lash out, he chooses silence. When others drown in emotion, he returns to reason. Not because he feels nothing, but because he feels deeply and has trained himself not to be ruled by it. This is the daily discipline. Not once a year, not in crisis, every single day. The Stoic doesn't wait for peace to come after the storm. He learns to carry it within him through the storm. He expects misfortune but never surrenders to it. He rehearses hardship but never fears it. He loves his fate, even when it breaks his heart, because he knows the world will not stop for your feelings. It will not ask what you want. It will not comfort you when you fall. So you must become your own source of strength, your own guide, your own fire. And that's what Stoicism gives you. Not just calm, but command. Not just peace, but power. The ability to stand still in the whirlwind of life and say, I've trained for this. In a world addicted to comfort, choose discomfort. In a culture that fears death, meditate on it. In a time obsessed with control, practice surrender. And where others see chaos, see clarity. This is not a philosophy for the classroom. It's a way to live, a daily practice, a choice to rise each morning and say, I will not be owned by fear. I will not be mastered by emotion. I will not waste this day worrying about things outside my control. I am here. I am alive. And that is enough. This is how Stoicism destroys stress. Not with magic, not with comfort, but with courage, with discipline, with a mind trained to see clearly, and a soul trained to endure, every single day.